Hi, today I'm going to be talking about what life's like for animals in captivity. Did you know that while in the circus, elephants spend nearly 11 months traveling in tiny cages? How many of you guys have ever been to a circus? While you were there, did you question the treatment of the animals or how they're transported everywhere? While in captivity, there's lots of negative things that occur to these animals, whether it's at the zoo, an amusement park, at the circus, or even just being used for research. In the journal article written by Justin Journell, Mauling, Escape, and Abuse, he talks about some of the smaller zoos right here in Northern Virginia. The Natural Bridge Zoo is built as a sanctuary, but when inspectors went, they found more than 40 other animals in need of vet care. One of their monkeys had bled to death after his wound was ignored. Another zoo he had talked about was the Ruston Zoo. There they had a frostbitten spider monkey who'd gone so long without treatment there wasn't anything left they could do for him and he had to be euthanized. Pictured I have the former zoo owner who ended up pleading guilty to charges of animal cruelty because of some of the things that occurred there over the years. It's since been shut down and reopened with new management under a new name. So animals in zoos and parks also don't have proper living conditions, and they don't get nearly enough room as they did while out in the wild. So according to the Born Free organization, in the article Keeping Wildlife in the Wild, captive cheetahs will pace back and forth in their exhibits out of frustration. They're the fastest land animal and they need lots of space to run, which is something they really don't get much of while in captivity. So killer whales can travel up to 100 miles a day, but that's while in the wild. In order to do that in captivity, they'd have to circle their tanks over 1,000 times. So in captivity, they don't get the proper exercise needed, which is why some scientists believe there's such a high rate of dorsal fin collapse in captive orcas, which was stated by Corinne Henn in her article How Life for Captive Orcas Differ from Their Wild Counterparts. So this leads into talking about the documentary Blackfish, which was directed by Gabriella Caperthy. The main orca they talked about was Tilikum. He was one of the largest killer whales ever held in captivity by SeaWorld. He was taken from the wild and forced to live in captivity when he was only 2 years old. Over the years of him being there, he'd killed 3 people. The first time it happened, the park just tried to say it was an error on behalf of the trainer. I'm not sure about any of you guys, but if I'd known that, I wouldn't want to get in the water and continue working with an orca who's killed people. But having wild animals so close to people, injuries are bound to happen, and lots have over the years because of it. As stated by EcoWatch in the article Animals Killed Due to Human Encounters, back in November of 2012, a mom had perched her 2-year-old up on the railing of the African Painted Dogs exhibit at the Pittsburgh Zoo. The toddler had slipped and fallen down into the enclosure where he was killed by a pack of the dogs. One of them wouldn't cooperate with the zookeepers after and was shot dead because of it. On the left side, I have a virtual view, which is from ABC News, just so you can get an idea of what happened. So later on in 2016, a suicidal man had gone into a lion's enclosure and taunted 2 of the lions. They both lunged and attacked the man and then were killed because of it. So another death that has taken place because of animals being in captivity and being so close to people would have been back in 2012 when Mila crushed the owner of the zoo she was just transferred to with her trunk. Some people believe it may have been because of the trauma that she endured after spending the previous 3 decades as the only elephant in a circus, which came from 10 horrifying zoo accidents. Talking about Mila help leads into my next subject about what circus life is like for the animals. Universal Circus was faced with charges of animal abuse back in 2015 when an elephant handler had jabbed an elephant in the mouth with a bullhook. So I have pictured a bullhook just so you can see exactly what they're using to jab the elephants with. So just being in the circus and traveling so much and doing all of these just ridiculous things that animals wouldn't do out in the wild really can put a toll on their health and affect the animals. But finally, I'm going to talk about what life is like in laboratories for the animals. So did you know from 2015 to 2016, the number of lab animals used for research increased 7%? See, that doesn't sound like it's that bad until you hear the additional 7% brought them up to over 800,000 animals. According to US statistics, this number also doesn't even include rats, mice, fish, or birds, since they aren't yet covered by the Animal Welfare Act. Did you know that because chimps have such similar biology to humans, they're infected with human diseases like AIDS and hepatitis just so they can be used as test subjects? Which was stated by Susan Armstrong in the Animal Ethics Reader. There was also a study done which had shown that the chimpanzees who had been used for research showed signs of depression and PTSD because of that. In India and the European Union, it's now illegal to test animals for cosmetics and household cleaning products, yet it still takes place here in the United States, not to mention many other places. So I will mention there have been some positive things that come from animal research, like finding cures to diseases, but that shouldn't be done on animals who don't get a choice in the matter. Cosmetics and cleaning products, according to animal experimentation by Animal Ethics, has blinded and even killed many of these animals because of the test done to them. So while in captivity, there are lots of negative things that happen to these animals. In the zoo, at an amusement park, in the circus, or just being used as test subjects. It'll take time, but if people stop going to these places and they buy cruelty-free products, places will get shut down and this will stop. Doing this will prevent more animals from being bred or even being taken from the wild just to end the cruelty that's occurring. It'll take time, but if people stand up for these animals, since they can't stand up for themselves, we can make a change.